Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor. We had a football game last night, Andy, but I don't know about you. It was kind of lame.
It was, especially when the last three drives didn't end up in touchdowns, and two of them were inside the 10 with first and goal. Really thought, and I still believe, like, you can have it can be the right side and not win. The second half over was a good call, despite
Lost by
the
half a
slow.
point, I think.
Yeah, despite the slow start, we should have had a few more points. And honestly, that the late field goal would have done it. Although the late field goal was probably the wrong choice, I would have gone for that in fourth down. It was raining too, like that was rough. And Patrick brings up lame game with the exception of Bill or Steve Belichick. Yeah, that was weird. That guy was counting his teeth high on coke, like you're doing the thing with the tongue where you're trying to feel your lips and your face is. I've heard from people who've tried illicit
I've heard.
drugs. I've heard, but yeah, it was the game ended up being a fun ending. It was close at the end. I guess that's all you can ask for, and a silly narrative based on honestly a couple teams, a non-conference game between two teams that this is not going to play into probably any tiebreakers. The Patriots are still trying to figure out what they are. The Bucks have much more important games. It really wasn't an important game outside of just being a win or a loss for somebody, but they did really push the narrative on us, and we had fun. The Bucks won. From Friday when I spoke to my guy Motoy, the two things he left us with was I'm going to need Cincinnati on Saturday, and we're going to need the Patriots on Sunday, and both of them
Thursday.
did cover. No,
Oh,
Cincinnati.
sorry, Cincinnati
Bearcats.
University. Excuse me.
The Bearcats. He said, yeah, the Notre Dame outright money was pretty heavy, lopsided, and obviously the Buccaneers -6, -7 stuff was lopsided for the good folks at WinBet. So they were able to get those two games home, and the rest was probably a pretty decent wash. Otherwise,
Big week for survivor pools. The city of New York, Andy, killing all of our teasers. I don't know about you. I don't think I had any that survived the Jets and the Giants winning, because I think I had Saints or Titans in just about everything. It was almost most of the survivor pool entries I saw, depending on what your rules are. It looks like it was a lot of Bills, a lot of Bengals, but number 3 and number 4 were the Titans and the Saints. So a pretty big weekend from that perspective. I'm sure Mr. Motoy didn't mind that at all either.
Yeah, no, and then exactly, the Survivor League stuff, the teaser stuff, all the teasers. The week I mentioned this too. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be so excited to do teasers because they did good last week, and then you get to this week and a couple of basic strategy, a home team, basic strategy, Wong teaser at home, could not get there in the Saints. I still think that was an okay bet, even though I don't hate the people that took Giants +7.5. Not a bad bet, but honestly, it was a 10-point lead late, and they did kind of bottle that one. Sucks for me, but we move on. We're not on to Cincinnati. We have.
It wasn't. I don't think the end of that Giants Saints game was too surprising. I mean, we knew the Giants had a good defense. That's kind of what we saw. The Saints again maybe played a little bit over their head week one. Maybe we got to remember that it's Jameis Winston, and we got working with that.
Yeah, they were up 21-10 late. It sucked for the teasers. But
it was surprising the Giants score that many points late. That was probably the most shocking part. Yeah, who knew they could score 10 points in a quarter?
With the coaching and especially the offensive coordinator coaching, rough. Urban Meyer had a weekend. First coach fired market. I was a little worried because I was not high on the Bears, but Nagy bought himself some time, and also the Bears just don't fire people midseason, so not super worried about him going anywhere, especially if he's going to let Laser call the plays. And tonight we got a game. We got a good one. This is something Drew and I bet this week. We're aligned on this one. We were aligned on the Browns as well, and that one went. I mean, it got there. That game was a little sweatier than things needed to be. But tonight, the Raiders head to their home away from home in L.A., a place they used to call home for a while, and play at the beautiful SoFi Stadium. Chargers are 3.5, 3.5. You're gonna pay a little bit extra to get the 3.5 on the Raiders right now. Total 51. Like I said, I am on the Raiders here. I have 0 home field advantage built in. There's a slight chance it may be even a little advantage for the Raiders, which is messed up to say. And yes, Patrick, Mr. McCann in the chat says no Manning cast is a bummer. That is a bummer. I've been enjoying that. I know
What a tease.
I'm back to mute on the broadcast and just watching it and doing some second screen shit on my phone.
That's what I did last night. It was Kid A's birthday yesterday, so I was listening to Radiohead while I was watching that lame football game. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was the rain kind of. I wonder what kind of game we would have had if we didn't have the rain. Steve Levy Hive stand up. I don't like Steve Levy. I don't know. Thanks. Dan was being sarcastic about liking Steve Levy. Yeah, I don't love the announcing crew. I'll watch this one on mute, but I definitely will be watching. We'll be definitely doing a halftime show, and right off the bat, I'll be looking for a first touchdown score. It's been a couple games. I forgot to place one last night, and then I went back through the picks chat, and I'm like, God, if somebody I would have picked Henry, I'm going to be mad because I would have played it. Nobody had Henry hardly, so I felt a little better. It's like I saved some money, and I'm going to use that money tonight. And you are back to your old reliables, some tight ends and quarterbacks, but Mike Williams. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so we've got a couple receivers in here. Mike Williams. Mike Williams specifically was someone that I looked at. He's getting the exact same target share as Keenan Allen inside the 10-yard line, inside the 20-yard line. He's picked up more touchdowns already this year. Defenses obviously are more focused on Keenan Allen versus Mike Williams. And again, when you get down to the field, what I see basically is the same player, one that's actually had a little more opportunity. And Keenan Allen's around 8-1. Mike Williams, I was able to get a 9.5-1 or so. Those numbers just look out of whack to me. I see some nice value here in Williams, again, who's been a huge red zone target for the Chargers this year. And speaking of huge red zone targets, and search around for this one, Darren Waller is as low as 8 some places, but there's a couple spots with 10, a couple spots with plus 950 if you can, and pretty solid difference between those two numbers. Again, Darren Waller, one of the best red zone threats in the entire league, let alone on his own actual team. He soaks up a lot of attention down there, even though defenses kind of seem to know what's going on. So at 10-1, he's the kind of guy at a double digits to 1 I'm always going to be playing each and every single week. I don't know why he doesn't get the respect of some of these receivers or even running backs. He should be 6-7-1. Hunter Renfrow, a receiver for the Raiders. Again, this one was another one that was interesting to me as I started to look through. He is second on the Raiders in terms of red zone target share and things like that season to date. And actually not too far from Waller. Basically, once they get down there, it seems like Carr really looks for Waller, really looks for Renfrow. The other guys generally don't see the ball as much down there. Again, it's only a few weeks, but based on expectations, it's kind of lining up again with what we've seen so far. And as Andy pointed out, my favorite, we got quarterbacks here. Herbert, again, search around. This one is a widespread as well. This one's as low as 15. I think I even saw 14-1 some spots, but 20-1 or better. You can find a 25 if you hunt around. I think it was like an MGM or something like that, but poke around, you can find that. And then Derek Carr at 40-1. Again, Herbert hasn't really run the ball that much this year. I will be honest, this one was close to getting cut, but I found a 25 and a 20, so I figured I'd go with it. If it really was just 14, 15, don't play that. But Herbert hasn't run a ton this year, so I was a little hesitant here, but this is a really nice number. And again, looking at the game script here on the way the Raiders have played defense this year, I think that they have been susceptible to some quarterback stuff, and I'm happy to take a swing on Herbert 25-1. And Carr, they continue to hang 30, 40-1 or higher. We're going to play this every week, Andy.
Yeah, you got to put a little bit on the quarterbacks. And not everybody is Sam Darnold, but there are still, you still have like sneaks. You still have like broken plays down near the goal line where it is so hard to get a pass in. Speaking of people who got lied to this week, you said there's no tennis. You came out yesterday like, hey guys, I don't think there's tennis. And then you found qualifying because it is Indian Wells is usually in what, April? I feel like
it's right
March,
after
April.
Miami. Usually they do the golden
Sunshine Double. The
Sunshine Double, yes.
Yeah, the two big Masters 1000 tournaments that are not in Cincinnati that we have in America. The Great Sunshine Double it's springish with the schedule realignment in tennis. They're having it. I'm glad they're having it after all. I don't know what kind of.
That's nice. California's been tough to do anything. It is. Andrew Wiggins learned out. Apparently took care of
that's the thing. The rules are strict out there, but Indian Wells will start later this week, and we have qualifying. I'm guessing you just took some big favorites. That's
generally kind of what I do. You know me, I like big numbers. But yeah, I did lie to you guys, you and Dan. I may or may not have had a few drinks at that point, but I was poking around going, there's no first round tennis tomorrow. Holy crap, what are we going to talk about? But I forgot about qualifying. Glorious, glorious qualifying. Usually we don't get to bet on this, folks, because it's happening on Saturday and Sunday while we're away. But we do have some tennis. The women's qualifying starts today. Men's qualifying starts tomorrow. And again, just, as Andy said, focusing on some bigger underdogs here. Qualifying is a little different than kind of what we talked about last week. We don't have the nice look ahead spots that we had last week, but we're going back to bat here. We'll start with Luciana Stefani. This is someone we backed. She actually got home for us once as a big underdog already. She will be playing this afternoon around 3:15. She's got Beatriz Haddad Maya. Maya, a player who very solid on the tour, kind of an older player, sort of working her way out. She's coming back from some injuries, played some nice tennis this year, but as I start to look through these numbers, Stefani's has had a much better record, although in less matches. Haddad Mai's played quite a bit on the surface already this year. I see better numbers for Stefani against a fairly similar player competition level. I mean, Haddad Mai, again, has won a lot more matches. I think her record is something that's like 30-something and like 13, whereas Stefani's looking at like an 8-4. That might kind of confuse you a bit. But as you dig down a little bit in that volume, there's not too much that impresses me here. I have this much closer than the line. I would have Stefani probably in the plus 180, plus 190 range. So 258 looks really nice to me here. Next up, Reese Brantmeyer is someone that has been kind of interesting, a younger player that popped up a little bit. She's got Katie Bolter this afternoon, again, 2 o'clock Eastern, it looks like, plus 255. Bolter, I think, is getting a lot of credit for honestly being a good-looking tennis player. People really like Katie Bolter. She's one of the prettiest women on tour. But you look at her results, they've been mediocre at best, especially on hard courts where we are. She had a nice little run on grass season, which she kind of does every year, being from England and London. I think is where she's from, London. But I know she's from the United Kingdom and England. She has an advantage there. But again, as I look at this, Brent Meyer's been playing some nice tennis. Again, a much smaller sample size for her, which happens sometimes when you're backing some of these younger players. But happy to back kind of the hot hand here. I have her closer to like plus 250. So anything plus 300 or better, even plus 290 looks good. And then someone that I'm going to be honest, Andy, I'm not really sure who this person is. I've never bet on Yuan before, but she's playing Christina Kokova, who is not very good, who hasn't been very good all year. Yuan has been playing a little bit of tennis. Again, nothing too spectacular, but has been beating women, putting up some nice numbers against the lower competition she's faced. It's really tough in tennis to look at someone who's been playing higher level competition, look at someone who's been playing lower level competition and have some real certainty around here. But I would have this closer to 3-1. I think anything plus 350 or better, I'm pretty sure there's still some 4-1s floating around there. So 3 big underdogs for us here. Try to take advantage again. Kind of the theme of this, it looks like, again, the market's really relying on some, veterans who've played a little bit more tennis, which, in a big tournament like this kind of makes sense. But I think the numbers are just a bit out of whack, and they're not giving enough credit for some young women who have been playing some nice tennis this year and have a chance to take advantage at the end of the season.
Yeah, and as somebody who just went and bet these while you were talking, and from the chat too, I thought that somebody was making a joke. I think it's Stefanski. It is Stefanini. Stefanini. Yeah, I bet it, and she's the person. Lucrezia Stefanini is playing Beatrice Haddad Maya. So Stefanini.
Hopefully, she doesn't take it personally.
Panini, I don't think she's watching. You never know. Well, I mean, she's watching for a match. Otherwise, she would be. We didn't get chaos yesterday in baseball, which kind of sucked. I wanted to see all the extra game 163s. I wanted the 4-way tie a couple days ago, and that was still feasible. None of that happened.
Hey, the Giants won the division. That's all.
Giants won the division. That was nice. Cashing some of those tickets. Obviously, my Phillies ticket was dead on arrival when they just couldn't get anything done versus Atlanta late in the season. But the Giants made me some money. I have some Brewers from early in the season, thanks to Mr. Adam Burke. So we'll be cheering for them in the NL. And yeah, Dan and I were talking about this. A little odd, and I mean, it's not odd. They spent $1 million and they have good pitching, and facing the Dodgers in a series where the pitching advantage is just going to be day in and day out is tough. But the Dodgers in a game where they are in a single elimination game right off the bat is kind of tough sledding. If you wanted to try to find some value, instead of betting, the whatever you're going to get, not quite 2-1 on the Cardinals to win the game, maybe find yourself somebody in the NL you like to win it. compared to that, because with the Dodgers out, the NL is pretty wide open. Obviously, the Giants have had an outlier season. I don't see them just falling off the face of the earth just because we're in the playoffs. But you can get some nice numbers on Giants, Brewers, Braves. Even if you do like the Cardinals, maybe you sprinkle a little bit on the Cardinals, 11-1 too. I am not a baseball. Obviously, I don't bet a baseball throughout the season, so I am looking for you guys. Obviously, hit us in the chat, hit us in Twitter, hit us wherever in the comment section on this video afterwards. Let us know what you think, because I don't have a horse in the race, but yeah, it is interesting.
I was going to say it's not till Friday, but a good question for Motoy. Are the Dodgers the favorite just because books have enough Dodgers money? They've had enough Dodgers money for months, and they don't really want anymore. So, they don't even probably think about this in terms of a realistic price. I mean, if you probably asked a bookmaker what the real price was, the Dodgers would have to be third, fourth, fifth in the lineup, just given where they are, and it just reeks of that to me.
Yeah, and that's probably a good point. Sometimes there's just enough liability where they're like, we're going to put this where people won't want to bet it anymore. It was almost the opposite. I did talk to somebody at Circa about the Giants. I said, you guys got hit on some early Giants numbers for some big prices early throughout the season. Like, are you sitting on Giants liability? He's like, you put the numbers back up and you list the Dodgers for whatever price you want, and people are going to walk to the window and bet the Dodgers to win the division every week for the entire baseball season. So he's like, yeah, if the Giants win the division, we're going to pay some big tickets out. He's like, but we've just been taking Dodgers money for months, just a little bit here, a little bit there by everybody who's betting the NL West. So he's like, the Dodgers money is just going to pay for it. And even early on, there was some, before San Diego decided to completely shat their pants, there was some Padres money as well. I don't know. Yeah, hit me up in the chat. Leave me a comment on this YouTube video if you have a hot take on an outright for the series here, or either pennant, or even maybe some series prices as we go. We'll get into those.
Yeah, I like the Patricks. They like St. Louis there. And that's a big thing for me. I like a team that's coming into the end of the year hot against a team that everyone really likes and is excited for, that just lines up with all my soft qualitative nonsense.
Yeah, I'm down with that. We'll close her out here with a PrizePicks thing. I didn't have an entry together yet. I know Matt, who you sometimes have seen on the show, works behind the scenes a lot on some stuff. He is going to put together a PrizePicks entry. You can find that on the BETSPERTS app. He'll have an article with his apologies last night. The promo last night was, if you were a new user, you got $10 for every touchdown pass that Tom Brady threw, which did not amount to many $10. So that kind of sucked. I don't know. They thought it would be a good idea and it would work out, but
everybody thought that game was going to be fun, and I agree with what you said at the top of the show. Like, there should have been more points. I don't know what the heck was going on. Maybe it was the weather, and people were kind of ready for that, but it was odd.
Did you see what tickets were going for? Like, the people that paid an insane amount of money to sit in the rain. Not great, Bob. But yeah, tonight we do have this one should hit, unless Justin Herbert is gravely injured before he throws a pass. New users can get a free $25 if Justin Herbert throws for at least 1 yard. That's all he needs to do, 1 yard. Promo code BETSPERTS NFL if you don't have a PrizePicks account yet. And on top of that, you will also get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So at the end of the day, you get $125 for free. And like I said, if you don't know what to play, follow Matt on BETSPERTS. He'll put an article out, and you can just tail his ass. Pretty easy. Right. It's a pretty easy games, folks. Just player props. You pick some player props to go over or under, put them together, win 3 times your money or more. And with that, Alex, let's go watch tennis. See you guys.